Now, news just in, former Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi has agreed to pay a penalty to HMRC as part of a seven-figure settlement over his tax affairs. It's been reported that Zahawi had the penalty imposed as part of an estimated £5 million tax bill. So it begs the question, should Nadhim Zahawi lose his job? He's the chairman of the Conservative Party. Should he step down or be fired by his boss, Rishi Sunak? Emma Webb, is this Rishi Sunak's first proper scandal, and should he act?
It shouldn't be. I think the whole thing is farcical. I think, firstly, with the seatbelt gate, or seatgate belt, as you were saying earlier, I think even seeing Dominic Raab trying to defend Rishi Sunak for not wearing his seatbelt is farcical. And I think this is the same thing with Nadhim Zahawi, that the press, in many ways, the way that they're behaving, which is applying the kind of methodology of the Twitter mob to absolutely everything, is destroying politicians' ability to do their job. It's destroying their ability to get on with doing the difficult job of politics, because every move they make, they're being criticised for these petty, silly things. And we don't know when this was that Nadhim Zahawi apparently made a mistake with paying his tax bill. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens with very large amounts of money. But that isn't a reason for him to lose his job. There's no proof that he's done this intentionally. Even if it was tax avoidance, that's not the same thing as tax evasion. He hasn't actively tried to not pay his tax bill, and in fact has paid this money back, and will or already has done, paid this penalty on top of that. So I just think the whole thing is a confected outrage yet again, and this is being instrumentalised by the opposition to try and present the Conservatives as being in chaos. And yes, I think there are many things to criticise the Conservative Party for, but we're distracted from the real things by focusing on all of these silly things like seatbelts and curry.
But is it really an oversight to not declare millions of pounds worth of income?
Huge oversight, certainly, but these sorts of things happen.
I mean, I think it's not quite seatbelt gate, is it? I mean, this is essentially getting in hot water with HMRC, and this is not just the chairman of the Conservative Party; it's the ex-chancellor. And this was going on whilst he was chancellor, whilst he was in the Treasury.
There's no suggestion that this wasn't anything other than an honest mistake, and so those sorts of things do happen. Okay. And I think unless there's proof of some active intention to wrongdoing. Yeah. Then there's no reason to make such a fuss about it. I don't think he should lose his job. I don't think that Rishi Sunak should fire him for it. I think that politicians are human beings who do sometimes make honest mistakes. As I say, there are lots of things that we can be criticising the government for and criticising politicians for, but we're focusing on all the wrong things.
Jay, what do you think about this?
I think he should be fired. I really do. He was our Chancellor. If he can't fill in his tax forms properly...
And he's a rich man as well.
He's a wealthy guy, and he's had a huge business.
He must have a good accountant.
He must have a very good accountant, and
maybe
whatever.
His accountant should be fired.
I just think that's wrong, and I just think he should go. And I think we should all be allowed to make a better, more informed judgment, because we should have more information about this.
What do you think are the political implications for Sunak? Is this a test for him?
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing about the seatbelt, actually, I think that's quite troubling. I think it's wrong that our Prime Minister didn't put his seatbelt on, bearing in mind there's children watching that clip. Yeah. And he might be in the back of a car. Most people put a seatbelt on. We'd even have, potentially, Lady Diana alive if she'd had a seatbelt on. Yeah. So I actually think, for the purpose of saying whatever he was going to say about whatever he was going to say, he should have had a seatbelt on, and the person who was filming him should have absolutely made sure that he had a seatbelt on.
Do you know why I think he didn't have a seatbelt on?
Well, he thought it might have ruffled his suit a bit.
Right, well, you're a performer, and you know about great sort of stage performances and outfit reveals. It's hard to do a video in a seatbelt, isn't it? I think he needed to sort of be free in order to, properly deliver his little message, and then once they'd stopped it on the phone, he was going to plug himself in.
Well, maybe, and maybe it would have rumpled his suit a bit, but I think for the purpose of, talking to the nation about what he's going to do for us, and the fact that children, anybody's watching it, you should have a seatbelt on. It's just something you should do. So I'm sorry, I disagree.
OK, well, look, Jay's worried about the seatbelt and, actually thinks it is an issue. Meanwhile, Emma is consistently clear that the Nadhim Zahawi story is overplayed. What's your view?
I think there is an issue there, because the amount of dough you're talking, we're not talking he was 50 quid wayward here, 50 quid there. He must have some top people employed. and he's made a massive, massive mistake. You're talking 3 to 5 million. I mean, that's a massive amount of money.
It's also a mistake that's allowed him previously to keep a lot of money in his bank account.
Yeah, so you're thinking to yourself, hang on a minute. So the interest on that 5 million, etc. The interest on that 5 million alone, kept for a couple of months, is worth having in your back pocket, isn't it? Yeah. So you've got to question whether it was an oversight, whether it was a mistake. How long would it have been before he declared that he hadn't been rumbled? And so that sits with me. With the seatbelt thing, I think you should wear a seatbelt. I'm a massive advocate of putting seatbelts on. And if you're in the back, I think it's even more important that you put it back on if you've got someone in the front, because the chances are someone my side, who I sat behind you, Mark, if I come lurching forward, well, we're all going straight through the dashboard. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah I am a massive advocate of seatbelts. I've got to say, if
I was going to go, I would go with Phil Campion, SAS hero, on top of me.
There you go.
That's one way to depart this mortal coil. Emma, the politics of this, Rishi Sunak, notwithstanding that you think it's been overblown, it is an issue that he needs to deal with. Would he look powerful, would he look strong if he fired Nadhim Zahawi?
I don't know. I think that currently the Conservatives are clearly in complete disarray. And I think that their chances at the next election, with the amount of time that is left to go, is, their chances of doing well are diminishing at a very, very fast pace. I don't know what the correct political decision would be, but I think that there is definitely something to be said for not feeding this culture of sort of press hysteria around things that I think are really, in the grand scheme of things, not that important.
Wasn't Boris Johnson's Achilles heel that he couldn't fire people, which I think in the end made him look weak? At first it made him look loyal, but then you realise he's got so many skeletons in the cupboard that he can't fire anyone because they'll just take their revenge on the back benches. Don't you think it would be a dynamic moment for Sunak to go, I'm sorry, I'm not having this, it's got a whiff of scandal about it, you're out?
It could be, but I think that the chances are that the press and the opposition will continue whipping up stories like this, and he'll have to just keep firing people, and that's going to get the government nowhere. OK, well, it's my personal view that Nadhim Zahawi has already served his punishment. He said he made a mistake. He's paid a massive cheque to HMRC to return any cash that was owed, plus a big fat fine as well. I believe in forgiveness. I believe in redemption. This guy's got an amazing life story. And I've interviewed him a couple of times. He's a gentleman and I think one of the good guys. But look, it's all about opinions. What's yours? Mark at gbnews.uk.